Miley's from the Seeker newspaper. Today the Seeker is doing an exit interview with former Cornwall Councillor Brock Frost, who I'm sure everybody in Cornwall knows by now. We are known for our 5-question interviews at the Seeker, so here we go with question number 1. We know that since you took office, a lot of controversy has been following you. You have been involved in a few lawsuits and even charged with a crime. We all know that none of these allegations have been proven yet, but when you decided to move to Ottawa, many people in Cornwall interpreted this as you trying to run away. So my question is, why did you move to Ottawa?
So why did I really move to Ottawa? So what is the truth? And I guess at least what I can say is that, what I've learned in the last year and a half is that people don't want the truth. What they want to hear is rumors. What they want is headlines. What they want is tabloids and gossip. And, some unfortunately are even out for blood. But, for the record, the real reason I did decide to move to Ottawa was for business. Back in February, I received a call for a listing in Ottawa. It was a fairly complicated deal, and I was able to sell it in a matter of days to an investor. And that commission check alone was higher than any commissions I've earned in my 4 years at Storm Realty. And that's got nothing to do with Steve or Julia Walkenick. They're amazing people. They're great for the community. It's just the fact that I learned that the Ottawa market was that much stronger than the Cornwall market. And that is the only reason I decided to move. It was purely a business decision. So if people want to speculate on why I moved, there's nothing I can do about that, but that's the truth.
Okay. Well, number 2. Even though you moved to Ottawa, you could still, in theory, serve on the city council, as you do own and pay taxes in Cornwall, which you did for a while. What made you finally decide to resign? What was the breaking point?
Well, I guess it's kind of like I said in my resignation letter. It all came down to workload, and I did have in the fullest intention of living and working in both cities, and coming back and forth as I needed to. But Again, as I said, I vastly underestimated how much work it actually took to be an effective counselor. When you're campaigning, everybody says it's a part-time job, which the salary indicates, but it's not true. If you want to be an effective counselor, there are council meetings, special meetings, there's numerous committee meetings, public events. It's nonstop, and I just simply couldn't do it after a while. I was starting to miss committee meetings, and I'm not the type of person that wants to do something. I don't want to be ineffective at something. So it just became too much for me to handle, and I had to make a decision. And if I'm speaking frankly, the salary of counselor just doesn't allow me to make that my full-time job. I'd be bankrupt in a week if that was the case. So I made a tough decision, and it's something that I had to do.
Okay. All right, so in the year that you served, you did some pretty bold and interesting ideas. Unfortunately, most of them were voted against, but still, you probably were the most active voice on council during that time. What did you learn from council, and what would you still like to see happen?
Well, you're right. I was active, and when I campaigned on 8 things, and I intended and I wanted to see those happen. So I was aggressive out of the gate, trying to implement my policies. Yeah, some were voted against. And so be it, but I took the job seriously, and I didn't want to just sit there and do nothing during my term. What I learned, wow, that's an interesting question. I guess I learned a lot. I learned first of all how it's unfortunate. I learned how ungrateful people can be. It's not something I wanted to learn, but I find it's difficult for me to kind of swallow that I've done so much good for the community, but people seem to forget it so quickly. So I don't know if that's politics in general or Cornwall in general or just the way things go, but I was very almost hurt and surprised on how quickly people can forget the good. What I've also learned is Cornwall's got some pretty talented people. Some very, very intelligent people, not just my former colleagues at council. We have some really good councillors, but the administration. During the campaign, I never really had a clear view on who was behind the scenes running the city. But we have some extremely intelligent staff, so we're in good hands in that regard.
Good.
I guess something else I learned too, and this is something I guess I misunderstood when I was campaigning, is how much authority council actually has. we have a lot less authority than I had hoped for or expected. And I'll give you a great example. During the budget deliberations, well, first of all, the budget of Cornwall is about $165 million. And during our budget deliberations, it took us about 3 months to approve the budget. And at the end of it, all we were able to change, or all we did change, was about $800,000 out of $165 million. That's 0.5%.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned that our hands are tied as councillor. A lot of what we approve is dictated by provincial legislation or collective agreements. So there's not a lot of, we don't control a major part of the budget. And another thing I learned is that council is kind of independent of the city administration. And what I mean is that in provincial and federal parliament, there's the MPs, the MPPs are also ministers who control administration. We have no direct influence over administration or any departments. That's the CIO's job, who, again, for the record, is a brilliant man. But we don't control. So we don't control the administration. We don't control the budget. So we have a lot less authority in that regard. So.
And what
Did
would
that
you
answer
like
your question?
Well, one more piece.
Okay.
What would you still like to see happen?
Well, the salaries of council is a big issue, and I'd really like to see the salaries increase. Municipal politicians should be praised. I can't believe the amount of work they're required to do for such little compensation. And even if you compare Cornwall to the neighboring municipalities of SDNG, we're actually the least amount paid. So there needs to, I'm not saying it's not all about the money, but there has to be proper compensation to your like I had to leave because I just couldn't make it a priority because the compensation wasn't there. It's I had bills to pay. I'm not saying we should be making $100,000 a year, but there needs to be a change in that regard. And I know that the city administration agrees with that point. And I'd like to see, I think council have a little bit more authority when it comes to departments. So, possibly an idea I had in my head would be, each individual council would also be somewhat in charge of an individual department, almost like a ministerial role. We would have direct influence into that department. I guess those are the two things I would change.
Okay, perfect. Now, number 4. So what do you have to say to the haters?
Oh, the haters. Well, what's there to say, really? Keep on hating. There's not much. There's not much I can do. I find it quite entertaining, to be honest. Like, I understand my life is a tabloid, and it is what it is. Sometimes I very rarely read the comments, but most of the people who make the comments, they've never even met me. I've never met you, or people comment thinking they know me, but they don't. It's entertainment. It's unfortunate that maybe their lives are not exciting enough where they have to obsess over mine, but there's nothing for me to say. Just keep doing your thing, and I'm glad I can entertain you.
Okay. And what do you have to say to the supporters?
The supporters. The supporters. Obviously, I wholeheartedly thank them for my support. My close friends and families, and even my clients. It's interesting when we get together. We don't even talk about the tabloid Brock Frost. It's like almost like I have two lives. There's the one that the media portrays or people think I am, and then there's my real life. So my friends and family, it's just we don't even discuss it. It's just I'm just Brock to them. So it doesn't even faze them. So I just want to thank them for appreciating the real me.
Well, that's good. And what is next for Brock Frost? If you pursue a political career, will you return to municipal politics, or will you target higher office, or just stay away from politics altogether?
That was like 5 questions in one there.
Well, that's the
So
future. What is the future?
Well, what's next? In the near future, I'm going to be traveling some more. I'm going to be taking off next week to Latin America. Traveling something I've always been passionate about. As you know, I went to Estonia recently.
Yes, you did, without me.
I did. What a great country, man. That's a different conversation, though.
Yes, of course.
I just also hired a full-time manager to run my rental investment portfolio. So right now I have a lot of free time. Something I have been working on since December, since I got elected, is actually a book. To believe it or not, so I will be taking the next couple months while I travel to really kind of get some more work done on that.
Okay.
As far as politics is concerned, yes, I do fully intend to return to politics. Municipal, likely not.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say, like, municipal politicians, I got so much respect for each and every person who puts their name forward. Like, what a thankless job. And I look at some of the, like, I look at Councillor Rivette, who at this term will be 14 years in Cornwall Council. Bernadette Clement was the third term. I can't believe the amount. Like, they should be praised. They should have statues in the town. Or Frank Prevost, the deputy mayor of South Glengarry, 22 years.
Wow.
So, like, municipal politicians, it's the most work and the most kind of ridicule because you're closest to the public, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the least amount of compensation. So, put all that together. I'm not sure if municipal politics will be my focus, but I'll definitely be returning to politics in the future.
Oh, good to hear. Well, that's our 5 questions. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to answer the questions for the seeker, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Glad to be here, my dear. Thank you.
You're very welcome.